Alright, so we just put a new front tire on our 2014 Honda VFR. So first thing we're going to do is clean out the seals, the wheel seals. So we'll get any of that old dirty grease out of there. We're going to clean off the little spacers. Whenever I take the wheel off, I put the right spacer on the right side, the left spacer on the left side, the axle on the left side where it belongs. That way when I go to put it back together, the parts are on the proper side where they came out of. So if you do it the same way as I do, there will be no question when you put the bike back together. So I just wiped all the old grease off of everything. There wasn't a whole lot of grease on that axle from the factory. And then I'm going to put marine grease back on everything. We're not trying to lubricate our parts. We're trying to keep water and other contaminants out of our parts. Remember, your wheel doesn't turn on the axle. Your wheel turns on the bearings. So we just want to keep dirt, debris, and water out from the inside of our wheel. So we put a light coat of grease on the seals, on the wheel seals, and then we're going to put a light coat of grease on our axle. The reason we put the grease on the axle is to make the axle easier to pull out next time we take the bike apart. So if we would have left that axle dry, if any contaminants did get on that axle, it would make it much harder for us to pull that axle out of the wheel next time. So you always want to put a light coat of grease on. So once we have our axle greased up, we're going to lift our wheel and align it with the forks so we can slide our axle into the spacers and in through the wheel. And then we just want to send that axle home into the fork. So now we can put our axle bolt into the axle. So now that we've got our bolt seated home into the fork and into that axle, we're going to clean off any grease residue that's on the inside of the fork. Sometimes a little bit squirts out when you're putting the axle in. And then we're going to torque down our axle bolt. So typically I don't give out what the torque specifications are, but since you're watching this video, then I'm guessing you're one of the 3 to 4 people in the United States who bought one of these 8th generation VFRs. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to set our front axle torque to 44 foot-pounds. And I always let it click at least twice whenever I'm torquing something. So right there's 44 foot-pounds on the 22 millimeter. Now we're going to do our pinch bolts. Our pinch bolts are going to be set at 16 foot-pounds. You do the math. I'm using an inch-pound torque wrench. It's harder to screw up small bolts if you use an inch-pound torque wrench and just convert it over. Give you a hint, there's 12 inches in a foot. And now we're going to jump over to the calipers. So we're just going to slide these calipers gently onto the rotor. Once we line it up, we're going to take these 14 millimeter bolts and put it into the caliper and tighten down. Your calipers are going to get 33 foot-pounds. So what I'd normally do is I snug them up with just a regular ratchet, and then once it's kind of like hand tight, then I finish off with the torque wrench to put my 33 12-pounds onto these 14 millimeter bolts. So this bike got new shoes today. we're running the Dunlop Road Smart 2. If anyone from Dunlop is listening to this, thank you for bringing back the Road Smart 2, and even bigger thanks for making the Road Smart 2 affordable. The Road Smart 2 was a great tire when it was $250 for a set, but now that I can get a set of these for about $175, that's a pretty good deal. If I put a set of these tires on for you, it's going to cost you $220 for me to do this process on your bike with the new set of Road Smart 2s. So if you want me to put a set of these tires on your bike, just feel free to reach out. I'm in Murphy, North Carolina. You know eventually you're going to come here to slay the dragon, so you might as well come here and get some fresh tires. And once you got the new shoes on your bike, then you can run off and attack the dragon, and maybe the outcome will be positive this time. Instead of you putting your motorcycle into the ditch, you might actually slay that dragon and make it all the way to the end and come back and get your t-shirt. Yay. So this caliper is just about on. Again, it's going to be torqued down to 33 foot-pounds. And when I was doing this job, I was the whole time I kept looking at the brake lines. And next time you see this, I might have some braided brake lines installed on the bike. I'm a huge fan of braided brake lines, and it looks like the set for the CBR Deluxe is quite affordable to get some Galfer brake lines on here. The cheapest I found them right now is $213. I'm hoping I can find them a little bit cheaper. I'd like to get some red ones. I haven't seen those yet. Alright, so we've got our caliper torqued down. We're at a good 33 foot-pounds with the snap-on torque wrench. I always spin the wheel, make sure it spins freely, and then always, always, always pump your brake lever. You want to make sure that those brake pads are back onto the caliper. Give it a good spin, make sure we stop nice. And I hope you noticed that I put a orange 90-degree valve stem front and rear on this bike to make it easier. If I do tires for you, you'll be getting 90-degree valve stems also, and I don't charge extra. So see you later.